Hello, everyone. Welcome to Shelly Saves the Day. I'm so excited to be joined with my guest, my friend, the magnificent, the magnanimous Gwen Miller.
Yay! The crowd goes wild.
I'm so excited that you are here, Gwen. Today, we're going to be tackling YouTube analytics. This is something that we promised our viewers publicly about a year ago, and we're finally making good on our promise. So
Blame it
I'm
on
so,
me. It's my fault that
no,
it's taken this
no,
long.
no, 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 none of that. None of that. It's on both of us. But I'm just so glad that we're doing this. So, for anyone who's never met the magnificent Gwen Miller, would you like to say a few words about yourself, or you want me to just say nice things about you? And then you'd be like, oh,
I
who,
mean,
me?
we'll. I mean,
Who, me?
let's start off with Shelly and I have known each other for what, like 5 years now.
4 or 5
Sometime during
years?
the
Yeah.
pandemic that we met.
Yes.
That's for sure. We're part of a mastermind together, so we get to see each other every single week, which is great, especially considering that you're much further north than I am. And there's not very many people in my life that I see once a week in LA. So
Yeah.
that is a long-term relationship. I
It
will
is.
say
It's
that.
one of the most consistent, long term, online, in real life friendships, period, that I've had. So, yes, that's.
But yeah, I'll introduce myself a little bit. Hi, I'm Gwen. I am a geek about everything YouTube and social media strategy. I've been in the industry for about 15 years. I spent like 5 years before that in television, so I've been in entertainment for like 20 years. So old. And I switched over to the kind of YouTube and social media side because I was so excited by the idea that there was audience interaction, that we could essentially make these shows that had the audience input. And then when I got here, I was like, whoa, have you seen all these metrics we got? Like, when I was in television, especially back then, like we had the Nielsen rating. But the Nielsen rating at that point was literally like, oh, somebody self reported, which turns out they were not
You could
very accurate.
lie.
What a surprise! And
What?
people
Who
would
would
lie
do
about
that?
stupid things because they didn't want them to know people to know they're watching MTV instead of PBS. Like, so the fact that we had actual like fundamental data of every second of how our viewers were interacting with our content, I glommed on very quickly that we could use that to actually make better content, not necessarily to be prescriptive about the content, but knowing what our audience wanted is a way to really help you create content that kind of attracts and bonds with them a lot more. And through the fact that we could experiment weekly, and our turnaround times weren't as much as television, we could really learn so quickly. And I have been obsessed with that for 15 years. I have worked across large media companies, digital departments, but also really with a lot of digitally native companies and creators. I won't give you my entire LinkedIn. If you want to know who I've worked with, you can go to my LinkedIn. But needless to say, this is what I'm passionate about. This is what I'm obsessed about. And this is something that anytime anyone gives me a chance to just geek out about, I'm going to do it. So Shelly, thankfully, is giving me the opportunity. Shelly, would you like to? I know this is your audience we're talking to, but do you want to, for some of my friends who have come to join, maybe introduce yourself and tell us a little bit about your background and what you're passionate about?
Absolutely. But also, let me say, I'm going to put this on screen. Paul Croce, he said, here! Exclamation point. Excited for this. So I want you to know your friend Paul is in the
I'm going to
audience.
shout out Paul. He's one of the best digital producers I've ever worked with. So if anyone needs a digital producer, he's a good one.
Excellent. Hi, Paul. Oh, Paul Croce just subscribed.
Oh,
Thank you.
wow.
Thank you.
See, buttered him up. Got you a subscription, Shelly.
Speaking of subscribers, Gwen's channel is linked down in the description as well as in the title. She is a new creator on this platform, even though she is very experienced in all
Well,
things. And
that's a little bit of a lie.
she's going to be making content, so go subscribe to her channel.
Correct.
We
This is
were
new
going
for
to
this
live stream
channel.
both, but
I have
unfortunately,
a secret second channel that I haven't done anything with in 10
it's
years.
true.
That was a booktube channel.
Yes,
So I'm
we
not
did.
totally alien to the creating content on YouTube game. I'm just now committing with Shelly's pushing to actually creating content on my namesake channel about this wonderful stuff. And
Yes.
yes, a future I will also be going live there. We just had some technical difficulties this time.
Yes. Next time we will also be streaming on hers, but make sure you subscribe to her channel. Absolutely. And Gwen is way far too modest to tell you things like she shares the stage frequently at conferences with Todd Beaupre, who's also known as the algorithm. I mean, they get to talk YouTube analytics, and she gets to be flown all over in other countries. So she knows her stuff. She's the one that you want to chat with anytime that you want a definition slash what does this mean slash why do I care type of deep dive on any analytic. So, and she thinks it's
Yes.
really fun to go into spreadsheets and be like, what can I do? How
It
can I?
is the amazing thing about. Okay, sorry. I had to send out the
A text
link
message.
to a bunch
Yes.
of people so that
No,
they
I
would
love
join
that.
us.
And while you're doing that, I will say hi, anyone who doesn't know me too. It's Shelly. Online, we go by Shelly Saves the Day. And here on this channel, we try to explain YouTube simply and we have content creation tips. So whether that's going to be new information about YouTube and regulations and analytics or just new things that are coming out, as well as what it means and why you care, and then video editing tutorials, as well as just making sure that you are able to remove any obstacles and barriers that are going to make it so that you can actually create videos, whether that's really easy tutorials about how to set up your audio or your lighting or video questions. We're just here for you to be able to feel more comfortable making it so you can share what you love with the world. So that's what we do here on this channel. And if you're new here, welcome. Happy to have you joining in with us. All right, did you send out the link that you wanted
I
to?
did.
All right.
I forgotten to do that part. I put it up on Instagram and LinkedIn, but I forgot to send it out to all my friends on my Particle. So hopefully, they'll be
Do
joining
you
here
want to talk about
shortly.
Particle? By the way, I was asking how much is the service, and she's like, it's free, and you can send out texts to all kinds of people for things, and she does it for pickleball. I was like, what?
I was not aware that this was not a
I
universally known
never heard of it.
thing. And I don't know if it's because they pushed it big in LA or something. It doesn't seem like it would be geographically like gated, right? But apparently, but it's a really simple, like if you're hosting any event, literally I'll do it for pickleball. If I'm having 4 people over for dinner, I will use it. Like it's just a very simple way to like invite people, but then also to easily send text blasts out. So that's what I use it for. This was I told everyone, hey, I'm going to go live with Shelly Sunday at 1, and I was like RSVP, and then at the time, which I obviously forgot to do until 5 minutes after, I'll send out the link and y'all can join that way. And we'll see how that works. But maybe a super secret hack, or maybe the not a smart way to do a YouTube live. We're about to see.
No, I love that. I've never heard of the service. So Paul has one more comment for you. It says, shout out, Gwen taught me literally everything I know about analytics and all the fascinating tricks and tips to keep attention. I owe her so much for teaching me so much with generosity. And also, we want to say hi to Dane. VidAction is here. Dane is watching while working on a task at home. So, hey Dane, good to see you. Thank you for tuning in. And if you're interested in learning more about VidAction, you can also subscribe to Dane's channel. He's doing lots of videos right now about advertising, which is always really fun, and the YouTube. And also Shani Black.
Shani's
So
here.
sorry.
So
Shani says hi, Gwen. So there you go.
Shawnee, I bragged to take one of my old jobs. I was like, "You are the person who needs to be doing what I'm doing right now, and I'll go do something else." And she was perfect for the job, and I was right. So just saying, like my instincts are pretty good here. I got Paul a job. I got Shawnee a job, and they're both brilliant.
And you also have another friend.
Allie's here. So
Oh,
Allie is
Allie.
also, you should also go subscribe to her. She has a great channel.
I love all the
And she
musical
does
redos. Oh, they're so
and
good. Allie, I'm a
I'm more
fan.
into the weird arts and crafts she did. We had a crafting circle like last month, and she arrived with a full like seat out of a car that she then popped in the middle of Renee's living room and just started painting.
love that.
It was amazing.
Well, Allie, I'm a big fan of your music and hopefully seeing your arts and crafts. I think I saw you playing pickleball as well. So
She does play
exactly.
pickleball
And
as
now
well.
Gwen can't get rid of me. So Allie is my friend.
Ah, as it should be.
Oh,
Um,
I love it.
should
All
we?
your friends are here for you. You have very
I
excellent friends in the chat today showing up
know.
for you. It's amazing.
It's
I love to see
perfect.
it. I
But
love to see it.
if you're not here and you're not my friend, still please interact in the comments, ask questions. These are very new metrics that we're about to get into.
Yes.
So I don't know everything about them. Like I know
She's
probably
lying.
about as
She's
much
being
as y'all do.
humble. She knows everything about everything.
So would love to hear like if any of you've been playing with them, what you think, how you've been using them. I have some guesses about how I think they're going to be used and what we'll likely see with them, but I would love to hear your predictions as we kind of get more data kind of queued up to really be able to tell.
Yes. So if anyone else has comments, questions, concerns, tidbits that you want to put in, please put them in the chat so we can share together. And you have one more hello from Dan Seibert. Hello, hello.
Hi Dan. Dan
So,
is an editor who is very good in this
oh,
space.
wonderful.
So if anyone needs an editor, I can hook you up.
Ooh, all right. Love that. Today we are going to be talking about casual versus regular viewers, why we care about it, how we actually measure it, what it means, all the above. So, Gwen, do you want to take us through how it's kind of replacing, what metric it's replacing, and all the good things, where we'd find it?
For sure. Let's bring up the slide.
Shall we bring up the slide? Okay. Watch everyone. Hopefully, 3, 2, 1. This is gonna work without. We tested this, but now we're live. Let's see. Ready?
Drum
3, 2, 1.
roll.
Oh, it's
Ah! And look at us in
working.
these cute
Look at
circles. Aren't
we're
we
still here with you.
adorable?
Okay.
All
Let's
right.
do this.
You think we know about the technical side. I would like to give a caveat here. I am the geek side of things, not like the data geek side of things. I am not the camera geek side of things. So I am just as amazed as anyone if the technology works.
Right.
So bear with me if I accidentally knock over a light or my microphone or something like that, because I'm not good at this. I'm behind the scenes.
You're doing amazing
Um,
already, sweetie. You're doing
Oh well,
amazing.
thank you. Seeing that Shelly, who is the expert on all this tech stuff, that means a lot. All right, new YouTube metrics. Drum roll. So let's talk about the existing metrics that we had, which actually are still fairly new. I say that they're like 5 years old. Um, uh, they've been around. I think it's been 5 years. I believe it was sometime in the middle of the pandemic that they introduced these new metrics. Before we got these metrics, we had subscribe views versus unsubscribe views. So essentially, it would tell you how many of your subscribers had watched and how many of people who weren't subscribed had watched. This was a little bit iffy. It was helpful somewhat because it did get you towards the idea of what your core viewership was doing versus what new people coming in were doing. I am a big believer in knowing this because overall views, a lot of people are just like, I'm going to use one metric. It's going to be overall views. And it's going to be the one metric that rules them all that will tell me if this content worked or not. But
I
that's
love the
very,
Lord of the
very
Rings.
muddy. I know.
I love
You got
it.
to have that.
You know my little heart is happy when you start.
But yeah, like it was kind of a rudimentary rough way to get you towards that idea, because you could often have problems where, oh my god, I got a ton of views on this video, and then it turned out it was none of your subscribers, they hated it, and it was just unsubscribers coming in, non-subscribers coming in to that video, but then not coming back to anything after that. So you could accidentally like really tank your channel, just by chasing after this overall tall views goal without truly realizing that it wasn't the right audience for you. So I always believe in digging deeper in and looking at what your core audience is doing versus your kind of the new audience. Not to the exclusion of the new audiences, because you need those people if you're going to grow. They need to be coming in, but they have to be aligned with your current audience, because if you start to have these two competing forces within the same channel, it will eventually tear apart your channel. I worked with a channel for quite a while that she started off, she was a child star in Japan, very popular there. So she did a lot of like Japanese like beauty reviews in Japanese, but she was actually American. And at a certain point, she had kids and she started mommy vlogging on the same channel that she was doing her Japanese beauty reviews. So not only was it very much two different audiences, it was two different languages. And that those two audiences tore the channel apart because half the audience wouldn't click on the other half's content. So it just looked like she just had a low click-through rate because like they kept showing it to people who were like, oh, they liked this video before, but it was a totally different audience, totally different language, totally different country. Like, so that's a very extreme case, but it's an example of why you need to make sure that you're carefully curating your audience into this kind of universal kind of single audience that there should be at least enough people out there who would view every single piece of content on your channel. Any questions about that, Shelly, before I move on?
I think it is dangerous. This is just a personal aside when we talk about using only one metric, such as views, because you don't know based on who's watching what their behavior is, how long they're watching, what their satisfaction level is, if they hate it, if they took any action, whether it was a sponsor click or whether it was clicking off or going on to some other video, or there's just a lot, because then how long are you quantifying a view and how much? For me, it's always, we need more information, right? There's always just more questions than there are answers in only that one type of metric. So I get people choosing a metric and going with it. I don't know if that one was always the best one to go with. But I also want to acknowledge there's a couple of other people here that want to say hello to you. So Stranger Flavors, Renee is in the house and she says hello.
Hi.
And you're
She's
also,
also in our mastermind group. So,
yes.
and as is Dane, we are
We are
representing here
very strong right
strong.
now. We're going to forgive Tolis because the different time zone. Zach is here and said, I posted a comment and received the link. So they are getting the link over in your Partiful thing. And Allie, so sweet, says, I will bear with you with a little bear emoji. And then Ashley J. Woods says, watching from my Roku, 100%. So Ashley is also there
Which
in the chat.
one of the next lives that we should do, Shelly, is about connected TV and how it's going to change how YouTube operates.
Yes, absolutely. And all the different ways that creators need to be working with that, including things like QR links and other shopping and all the things above. So, you know what? We'll add that to our list of items that we need to discuss. So, all right,
Perfect.
back to this. What you
All
got?
right. So in our history lesson, so that's what we had for like 10 years. So we had the subscribed and unsubscribed views. These were views. And here's the problem there, especially as YouTube started to develop over time. Uh, People weren't subscribing as much as they used to. The algorithm on the homepage got so good that if you were watching something consistently, it was just going to serve it up to you whether you were subscribed or not. They did a whole bunch of tests, and it just proved that really subscription was not a predictor of whether you're going to watch something. It was, speaking with your feet, essentially. It was actually watching. So once they figured out that, oh, these two metrics are no way related. So now you likely had a bunch of really regular viewers who are actually being counted as unsubscribed views. It makes it really muddy. And then how to use those metrics in the way that can really get you to actual insights about keeping your current audience and gaining new audiences. So a lot of us complained, including me, and they introduced these two new metrics called new viewers and returning viewers. And let's break down first what new viewers are, because it'll help you understand returning viewers, and then these new metrics that they have recently added to further refine and give us even more in-depth insights. So new viewers, now bear with me. A new viewer is identified as someone who has not viewed your channel in the last year. So to be clear, it's not someone who's never viewed your channel. It is someone who hasn't viewed in the last year. And you might be like, why didn't they just make it someone who's never viewed your channel? And my guess here is that what they're trying to really get at is core audience versus non-core audience. If somebody hasn't viewed you in 2 years, that's not a regular viewer. Even if they happen to have come across one of your videos in the last a couple years ago, they're essentially a new eyeball for you and a new opportunity to convert them into being a regular viewer.
Could someone be a new viewer of yours even if they subscribed from you 2 years ago but haven't watched you in the last year?
Subscription, when I tell you that subscription has zero
Ooh, here she
impact
goes. Here she goes.
on YouTube right now, like it means zero impact. I mean, would I be on board with just destroying that metric entirely? Sure, but they're never going to do that because can you imagine? Like creators would go crazy,
Yes.
and they would, and it's a vanity metric at this point, and it does have some value with them for brands. So I think brands are getting smarter and now ask for like average views in the last 30, like average 30-day views in the last 90 days or something like that, rather than really paying attention to the subscriber count. But still, at this point, even though it doesn't do anything, like it's going to stay just because it does give you like, okay, it really at this point tells you how long a channel's been around. Like there is so many channels from like 15 years ago that technically still exist, but maybe they get 15,000 views a video, but they have a ton of subscribers because it's an older channel. So really it's just kind of telling your age at this point, frankly.
So Ali wants us to know that joke's on you. I'm already crazy.
That is, I can vouch for that. She's definitely crazy.
Okay.
Oh, I didn't, do I need to talk quieter or
No, it's
is the air
probably
even
me.
out
I
now?
probably just turned mine down. So
I
hopefully
also tend to
you guys can
yell.
tell me if it's a little better. We'll see.
It's the ADHD in me that just, I get a little hyper obsessed and then I'm like,
Just get
whoa.
excited. I love that for you.
All right. Everyone got a good grasp on new viewers? If so, let's move on
We have
to
one comment from Paul, and he says, I feel like 95% of my subscriptions, I never see their content in my feed. That said, I should probably watch less of their recommended content if I want that to change.
well, you should watch more if you want that to change. I just feel like, look, it's a phenomena that it has a formal term called the Netflix queue effect, which is kind of an outdated term now because remember back in the early days of Netflix, they actually gave you a queue where you could add everything. It still exists, you can dig, but they don't really use it anymore because of this problem. And here's the thing, when we're adding things to a list to watch later, we are a idealized version of ourselves. Like we are the version of ourselves who wants to watch, Oscar movies, documentaries, all the, these serious movies. But the truth is, once we actually get to the moment, we want to watch our comfort shows. We want to watch the show that we've watched a million times. We want to watch that cartoon that we used to watch as a kid. So like nobody was watching on Netflix like the actual queue. So they also moved over to just showing you stuff that they know you like based on your watch history. So that is the same thing we find in subscriptions, right? I worked for a while with a sign language channel, and sign language channels, interestingly enough, really high subscription rates because people are like, I'm going to learn sign language. I'm going to subscribe to this channel. Well, guess what? In the moment, they're never in the mood to actually put in the work. So they had very low views, even though they had really high subscription. And this is the problem, right? Like what we subscribe to is not necessarily what we want to watch. So if you truly like, look, you still have your subscription feed. You can use your subscription feed. But the truth is that most of us don't actually want to watch that content. And that's fine. It is also just a nice vote of like, you're doing good work, keep going, but you don't necessarily have to be watching it every day. But if you do want to see it show up more, have some self-discipline, go to your subscription feed, watch more of their content so it shows up for you.
So Ali does have a question, and she says, have people found that brands still care about subscribers these days?
I would like to, if anyone in the audience has opinions, I think that they're getting smarter and using that metric less. But I mean, there is some truth in sending a packet out. It may get you in the door. it's not going to make their decision on how much they're going to pay you. They're going to pay you based off your average views, but it could be that thing that catches their interest, in my opinion.
And then we've got Renee saying, it's like buying a course that you'll never even start.
Yeah, that's the,
We all have done that. I've bought so many, and I'm like, yeah, one day I'll get to that. And it's my watch
and it's
later,
free.
learn later list.
You can click many subscribe buttons as you want, and it doesn't cost you anything. So it's
Absolutely.
even more so than that.
Because it's free, right? And then April Lynn did want to say, subscriptions are aspirational, and she loves that. So you already have a quotable from today. So love that. And Renee is saying, brands definitely still care about subs more than they should. Absolutely, more than they should, but they do.
All right,
Well,
let's
we're returning you
move
back.
on to returning viewers. Okay, so simultaneously with new viewers, they sorry, I don't have a slide for this. I'll just explain it. Simultaneously with new viewers, they introduced a second metric called returning viewers. And returning viewers was just the opposite of new viewers. So remember, new viewers is people who haven't watched your channel in the last year. Returning viewers were people who have watched your video in the past, watched one of your videos, at least one video in the past year. And that was classified as returning viewers. So we had these metrics over time. They started allowing us to filter things with it, which was very useful. So then we could see, okay, what was the pathway that returning viewers versus new viewers were taking through our content? What traffic sources were they coming in through? What did their retention look like? And you really did see very clearly, the differences between the two groups. And you obviously knew that your regular viewers would view more, they click through more. So it was a very, very useful metric. The problem came is that returning is a very broad metric. Like there's a lot of difference between someone who's watched one video from you in the past year versus somebody who watches every single video every single week or every single month. So it was still a little bit muddy because it didn't allow you to kind of suss out the difference between a super fan and like the casual like viewer who knew who you were and come back, because really at the end of the day, the group that's going to convert to do more things for you is going to be that core fan base, right? So we knew there was two different groups hiding within that returning viewer metric. We just couldn't see it. So YouTube, bless their soul, has now introduced two new metrics to kind of get at that differentiation. Should we answer another question before we move on?
Sure. April Lynn says, is it still worth having a CTA asking viewers to subscribe then?
I would say no. My personal opinion is that it's a waste of space. What you should be using that time for is getting them to view something
A different
else.
video, yeah.
Because this is a whole different live that we could do. I am big on ending retention, having a strong tail. So the end, usually we see in retention graphs, you start to go down like this because we feel like we have to patter at the end. Because like in any conversation, I'm not just going to be like, welp, and walk out. We're going to have small talk. And in YouTube, that small talk is, hey, I hope you like this video. Please like and subscribe. That is the small talk that we know are ending signals for videos now, and we just leave before that. So it really makes your ending retention crap. They never get to your end card to like click on another video. So it doesn't really help you. And I am in the personal belief that it harms you. So I would recommend you some way push them to watch something else. If you like
Used
this
to say
video,
that the video was over when the lasagna came out of the oven.
oh yeah, that was another thing that came up in like a live once a metaphor. But yeah, if you take like a food video, like we would not when I do food videos, we won't do a long tasting at the end. Usually we'll have them taste under like an end card, because at the end of the day, the content of the video is done when the lasagna comes out and you see how pretty the lasagna looks. You're eating with your eyes. You don't need another 2.5 minutes of someone taking a bite and telling you exactly what it tastes like. Like they can tell how good it looks. So usually we would pull it out of the oven, immediately put up the end card, then they're tasting and going, oh, but they had the opportunity to click off into another one of our videos instead of clicking off into someone else's video.
Yes, I think I remember you once talking about how if it's a surprise ending, it's almost better. Where you're like, and watch there, and like that was literally the end of the video.
Yeah, and if you watch a lot of like Gen Z videos, they're just done. Like
Yes.
it's like whiplash. But
Yes.
there's a reason that works because at the end of the day, like they know when I'm done, you're done. Like we've hit the climax. It's all downhill from here. We're wrapping this up quickly. And look, for channels that are aimed at a older audience, maybe you make that a little gentler because they're not used to that. But the philosophy I think still holds.
Absolutely. So there is some question from Paul, and he says, could there be anything to teasing upcoming content to drive subscriptions or also retention killer? I have a comment on this one. If you have
Right.
seen the latest Michelle Carre video where she is hanging on the side of a plane, I thought she did a brilliant job. This is just my personal opinion of not only talking about the Adobe sponsorship that she had with the additional behind the scenes content that was over on their channel, but the entire premise of some of her challenge accepted things has been chasing after this lifelong goal of doing a stunt with Tom Cruise. So the samurai training, the underwater Houdini, the hanging off the side of a plane, all of these were things to get Tom Cruise's attention or something in his repertoire. And she
Yeah.
says, if he doesn't get my seriousness after this, there might be one last thing, which is him. You see us for a second this really tall building, and if you've seen some of the Mission Impossible movies, you know that he jumps off that building, and then at the end it just says subscribe. And so you know that this is coming, and you're like, oh my gosh, wait a second. She just hung off a plane. That took months and months to make. I don't know how long she's been doing this, but I know if it's the level that she's always at, I need to be in on this. I can't miss this because I know she's going to try and jump off the side of a building. So I felt like that was one of the best reveals that I've ever seen in a way
Hmm.
that like got people excited to come on to the next thing.
Yeah.
For you.
I think a big believer in through lines, right? And this is funny because this is something that Paul and I actually have talked about and worked on together in the past, this very idea. But I'm a big believer in those through lines because it does help both attract in audiences, but also are these kind of little Easter eggs for like really ardent fans. Because I've been here since the beginning of the quest to get Tom Cruise in, right? Those can work very successfully. But what I will say, you can't do it every video. It has to be for these big stunty things, else you're kind of the boy who calls wolf. And especially if it's really like a core like work a day type of content coming up next, you're much better advised to push back to something that already exists. Because at the end of the day, the reason it works for the big stunty content is the big stunty content will show up on their homepage. Like it's going to be big enough that anyone who's ever expressed interest in Michelle Khare is going to see that next big stunty piece of content. But if it's, something that's really more aimed for your regular viewership, like that is something that they're already going to get on their homepage. And really, the casual and new people probably are not. And in that case, you're going to have a lot more effectiveness pushing to a piece of content that exists currently. Because at the end of the day, I always say, pre-teasing things too far ahead on YouTube makes people actually think that they've already watched it in a weird way if too much time goes on. And then they'll see that video come up and be like, oh, I think I remember something about this. I must have watched this before. So you have to be really careful that it has to be so big and explosive that there's no way they will have forgotten that just because they know the premise, they haven't already watched the content. So typically, I always say push to something that exists, the bird in the hand type of thing, because the conversion over to something in the future is going to be fractions of a percentage point versus a slightly larger click-through rate for something that already exists.
Love that. Okay. Are we
Great.
going back to the slides?
Are there any other questions or moving on?
Not yet. No other
Okay,
questions yet.
great. Let's move on to talking about the two new metrics. All right. So as kind of previously stated, that was our dilemma, right? We knew that there was this regular versus casual divide. We couldn't see it. So YouTube very kindly has introduced the divide so that we can see the difference between those people who watch religiously and the people who very rarely watch, right? And this is classified as regular versus casual. But how do they define that? Because that's always a difficulty and what usually takes the time to get these metrics introduced is them really thinking through deeply, how do we define the difference? Where is that dividing line? And this is what they decided. So a regular viewer is defined as a viewer who has viewed another video from your channel. Sorry, this is wrong. Um,
Six, six
that is
times,
returning
right?
viewers. Here we go. So a casual viewer is a viewer who's viewed a video on your channel 1 to 5 months out of the past year. This gets really confusing for people. It's literally just months. One of those months they could have watched 12 videos. It doesn't matter. It's just they watched the videos of yours in the past year for 1 to 5 months. Doesn't matter how much they watched in that month, how little they watched in the month. They're a casual viewer if they did not watch more than 5 months out of a 12-month period.
And
That makes
also
sense?
the types of content is all the above. So that's shorts, live streams,
Mhm.
long, the podcast, like all of it. It all counts.
Correct. It doesn't matter what it is. If they viewed it, they are a casual viewer. If they, and obviously, again, then you could complain, be like, well, watching one short is much different than watching, like, several long form. This is what we got. If we get too many metrics, then it gets too confusing. I like what we got here. Maybe in the future I'll start complaining, demanding more metrics, but I'm happy for the moment. Okay, so that's casual. So then what is regular? And that's really just the opposite, right? So viewers who have viewed a video on your channel 6 months or more out of the past year. So there is a sharp cutoff. If you watch 5 months out of the year, you're casual. As soon as you watch 6 months out of the year, you're a regular viewer. Now, that could just be they watched 6 videos over 6 months. Versus you could go all the way to the extreme where they watch every single one of your videos. My guess is I think we wish that people watched every single one of our videos. I would be very surprised if anyone other than your really ardent stalkers actually like we all end up
That's
actually
true.
missing a video.
Yeah, they're just waiting for you to hit publish so they can be like, hated it, hate you.
Yeah, that's very true. It's like the haters are
The
more
first
loyal
one to
than
do the
anyone
thumbs
else.
down, right? You're like, oh, I have the notifications on so I can hate it right away. I mean, I know that a lot of people used to put a lot of juice behind the average video per viewer metric. They were trying to look at that and manipulate that and try and get
Get it
that
up.
up. Yeah, absolutely. And there was a lot of chatter about that. Now, one thing too, with the shorts, they do have a difference between engaged views and just like the regular views. So they are also
Recent
trying
change
to
as well.
differentiate. Yes, which is absolutely different than people, they're scrolling there. So they had to have done something, interacted. Maybe they rewatched, maybe they rewinded. I don't know. But there is something
Well,
with engaged
they got
views.
further. Well, so engaged views is actually what a view used to be, right? Up to a couple months ago, engaged view was a view. And they don't really reveal this sort of stuff because, like, then you can start gaming the system. But, the rule of thumb for long form is that they count a view after 30 seconds, or if it's a shorter video, maybe, a little less than that. But it's just, they can't just have scrolled past, watched for a second, and moved on. The problem for YouTube was that everyone else, every other platform, literally,
They
it's
count
like
that.
you scroll past, they count that.
Yep.
So it was putting them at a disadvantage because it looked like, creators were like, well, I get so much more views over on TikTok. Well, no, they just counted you differently. And they tried for years just to fight it off. And when it was just Facebook, it was pretty easy to be like, Facebook is terrible with metrics because we all know that. But then once TikTok joined in the fight, I think they realized that if they wanted to stay competitive, they have to change that. So now a view for a short is now you just kind of blinked and missed it, right? But they still offer that engaged view metric so that you really get a better sense of like how many people actually watch the video truthfully. But you can use that view metric to go to brands and show that you're getting equal amount of views on YouTube as you are on the other platforms. It was a concession, and morally it feels a little icky, but it is the decision. It was the right decision because they were being put at a disadvantage to
I think you did hit on something
play
earlier
field.
too, is in the idealized world, we would like to believe that any of our subscribers are going to watch every piece of content that we put out.
Right.
But historically and data wise, we know that that is not the case at all. So most of the time we overestimate how much our audience is watching.
I also want to note here, because this question comes up a lot, because people will, once they do like, oh, this sounds like a cool metric, and then they go start poking around, and then they get really confused. So like they think that they should be able to take their, in the days of you were 2 months ago, you should be able to take your new viewers and returning viewers, add them up, and get your views. But there's a key difference between these two phrases: viewers versus views. These are two very different. So when we're talking new and returning, they add up to uniques. And what is a unique view? So if you set, and it's all dependent on what date range you set your YouTube date picker to. So if it's set in the last week, what a unique viewer is that this person is only being counted once, even if they have, say, viewed 4 times in the last week. There's still one unique viewer that has multiple views, right? So unique viewer versus multiple views. So your unique viewer number is always going to be lower than your views number, or at the very least equal to it if everyone's just watching one. Because like at the end of the day, uniques are people, views are almost limitless depending on how much. Getting back to your reference to your average videos viewed, like that is how those. So then if you took your unique viewers, multiplied it by the average videos viewed metric, then you would get your views. And there is some credence to the idea that if you can get people to watch more, that will up your overall views number without having tracked in a new audience. And we'll talk about that if we have time a little bit later, on this idea of, can you move people down the funnel? Can you convert someone from a new viewer into a casual viewer? And then can you move them from a casual viewer into a regular viewer? And then in a lot of cases, can you then make that regular viewer into product purchase of your merch, or move them off platform to go to a Patreon? Like moving down the funnel to create this better business model. I think we're all here to be able to feed ourselves, and there's nothing wrong with that. And that requires that you have those regular viewers. And we'll talk a little bit as we move forward about what I've already started seeing, looking at channels that can be a little like why you might have a channel that's not converting as much, because it turns out if you're returning viewers, most of them were casual viewers and they like watching you occasionally, but they're not invested in you enough to actually convert to other things. So understanding it's a new way for us to think about moving people down the funnel, to be like, what are the things that I do in my content that encourage people to become this more ardent, consistent viewer, rather than being like, I may see a video, I may watch every couple times a year, but really I could take it or leave it. I'm just going to tune in for the topics that are really big and shiny.
Now, we should also mention that for those who are adverse to change or still like to look at the old returning viewer metric, it hasn't completely gone away. It is still available. It's just hidden a little bit more in the advanced analytics, but it does still exist in the way that you know and possibly love it. So put that out there.
It, as is unsubscribe views and subscribe views. It's still there if you want. And especially in these transitionary period, for those of us who track data over periods of time, like these new metrics only go back to, I believe, March. So, and I'm always grateful that they give us a bit of backlog, because it's next to useless if it started yesterday, right? So there is stuff you can do with that, but really that's not, in the grand scheme of data analysis, a huge bunch of data. So in the meantime, between now and when we actually build up, I usually like a year worth of data, so for the next 9 months, I will probably still use returning viewers quite a bit, just because I have the historical data to compare it to.
And you did mention, so it was March 17th is when they started tracking this and giving available back data and making it then be tracked in this new way. But there are still people who may not find this new set of data particularly helpful. I know that we talked about it. Maybe not very helpful for my channel to be looking at it, because I didn't publish a lot of videos in the last year, right? And yeah, Gwen was very nice about it. I was like, yeah, if you want, we can poke around in analytics. She's like, you didn't publish anything, so it's not worth it. And I was like, okay, oh, got it. We'll publish more videos so we can have more data for you to look at next year. But that could be a reason why this analytic may not be useful to you, but there could be some other reasons why as well.
If it's the impetus that gets you posting more, like, So you can it could
I
be
know.
worth it.
I
So
will post so that you have more data to look at. I anything for you.
exactly. I would like to say for all my friends in the chat, if you post more, then I have more data to play with. So that should be the driving force in your career decision.
Absolutely. The more we post, the more candy and the bigger shop for her to be for her to be the kid in the candy store. Okay, I will switch you back over to your slides and
Right.
I'll see there was a comment
From
April. Oh,
April
Paul is
Lynn.
saying thank you, that was helpful. And April Lynn says, "What are things that you can do to help turn your casual viewers into regular viewers?" And then we're going to talk
Which is
about
a
that.
great segue into future slides.
All right.
Before we get there, I just really quickly, I'm a big believer whenever I do these type of presentations to show you where to go, because nothing's more annoying to me to be like, great, you told me this metric exists. I don't know where to find it. No, a lot of these people in this chat are super like nerdy data people, so this may not apply to you, but I know that
In a
there's people
good
here who
way.
correct in the best possible way, but
In the
for the
best
cool
possible way.
people
We
in the
love you.
crowd who have lives and don't spend all their time in advanced analytics, I'm going to show you. Okay, so if you're in your YouTube studio and you're in the analytics, you're going to go over to advanced mode. And if you haven't spent time in your advanced mode, your life is about to change, because this is where all the magic happens. Click on that. Magic. Then you're going to get into what is now, actually, this is actually a kind of a product announcement too. This is new in the last couple months. This is the new advanced interface. It is somewhat similar to, for those of you who've ever worked for a big company that had the money to pay for Tubular. Tubular also has this kind of sidebar where you can kind of select all your controls in the same place. The old studio was very elegant, and a lot of people complain that this is very simplistic. And I'm like, yeah, but that's better. Like the old studio, you were literally having to be like, okay, this thing's in the upper right hand corner. This control is like hidden right in the middle of the screen. This one is like someplace that I can never remember. So the fact that they've moved everything to the left hand side, and you can kind of just go boom, 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 and select everything you need. And this is the thing, I've
But
been
wait,
testing this for like
there's
over a
more.
year. There's more. This is the feature that I requested and they gave to me, and I'm very grateful for it, is you can save views now. So if you, like me, have like, these are the metrics I look at a consistent basis, you can save that view, and then the next time you come back, boom, you can just select that, instead of every time I'd have to come back and like reselect all the metrics I wanted and the filters I wanted. Terrible. Now you don't have to do that. So
Everyone say
I
thank you,
know that
Gwen.
change is scary,
Thank you.
but I love this new YouTube Advanced Analytics. You should be playing with it. It is going to be make your life a lot easier over time. You just got to get used to it. All right. So once we are in this advanced mode, there is this nice little button here that you can click, or you can click over here where it says metrics on the left hand side. You're going to click that, and you're going to search for the word viewers, and it's going to pull up a list of metrics that have the word viewers in it. And you're just going to select casual, new, and regular. These aren't in the default when you're up here. They have kind of the same default as before, like views, subscribers, estimated revenue, but you can add these in and then save them as something that's going to come up on a regular basis. Once you select that, then it's just going to appear in line. A caveat here that is very important and confuses a lot of people. The largest time range they're going to let you do is 90 days, which gets a little annoying when you're tracking by quarter, because there's some quarters that are just slightly longer than 90 days. You have to kind of, scooch it. And the reason for this is, remember, viewers are time dependent, right? They have to dedupe, right? So that's why people will be like, well, I tracked my new and returning viewers like every week and then added them up. It's a bigger number than when I just ask YouTube how many new viewers did I have in the last 90 days. It was because 90 days versus, say, a week, that new viewer is now a returning viewer the next week. But if you make it 90 days, if they start as a new viewer, they're a new viewer. So it's never going to add up perfectly. So that's why it gets a little bit difficult with these metrics. And because of that, it's quite computationally complex for YouTube to do this. That's why it took them quite a while to introduce these metrics. So doing it at a larger scale than 90 days, they're not going to do it and anytime soon. So if you're confused about why you're trying to find out how many new viewers you had in the past year, it can't tell you. Sorry.
So I'm going to stop you 1 second and acknowledge a couple of
Yes.
people that have said things to you. So Tessely Deal is here, and she says, "Hi Gwen, I'm sure you're getting to this, but I'm curious how this impacts the creators who post super infrequently but get incredible views on every video. Maybe like a Mark Roper?"
First off, congratulations. Cecily got married a couple weeks ago, and I got to go to the wedding. It was fabulous.
Kudos to you planning a wedding and
Um,
doing surviving.
So let's talk about people who post infrequently. The good news is now with how YouTube works, it used to be you couldn't post infrequently and still get a good audience. Now you kind of can if the videos are like really bangers and are really, really good. I mean, at the end of the day, if you have, one of those channels that does post infrequently, a lot of them are bigger channels that have been around for a really long time. They're going to have quite a few regular viewers, likely. Like, and because they post so infrequently, well, actually, no. No, I get what you're getting at. This could be weird for people because they wouldn't have, if you are a core viewer, you would have already viewed everything. So if they haven't posted in a year, would have had nothing to watch in the last year. That is very interesting. You're gonna, in that case, everyone's gonna you might end up having a lot of casual viewers, because the casual viewers, if say you are posting 2 times a year, they watch one of those videos, but they probably haven't watched a lot of the past catalog. So there's a ton of, YouTube is a nonlinear platform. Like with Mythical, like you watch the video today, you could get a video for Good Mythical Morning from 10 years ago. And there's such a big library, you're never going to run out. So it's not going to be an issue for them because they post daily. So again, not even the most ardent fan can have watched daily content. Like no one in our, very few people in the Mythical offices have watched every piece of content. Like there's just so much content. But if you truly only post like once a year, unless someone is going back in the library and watching stuff, if you're the super fan, this might get muddy. That is a really good point, and I would love to talk to some people who have channels like that to see over time. This is not something we're going to be able to tell now because it's too early. Over time, like what do their metrics show them? How does it classify people? Because again, there is a library, so it's non-linear. But if you truly are that fan that's watching every single thing, unless you're going back and rewatching and are really that super fan, how would that look? I think this is going to be most effective for channels who post probably at least once a month, frankly.
So Johnny Bean is saying hello, and from Santa Cruz, but Tessely came back and said, presumably, many are watching longer videos in smaller chunks over days. Do these count as multiple views? Does a user have to close the tab and reopen for it to count as multiple views?
Such a brilliant question. This is a question I asked YouTube myself because I wanted to know. And this is what they told me. So there is something called a CDN. When you start playing a video, you're assigned essentially a number. That is your CDN. That's what defines a view. And theoretically, if you stop a video and don't exit out of the page, but leave the page up and come back and start viewing, that CDN should still be in place. But it does break after a certain amount of time, and they do not know how long that is. Their guess is like 6 hours, but it can vary. So technically, yes, if they're watching in small chunks in a short enough period of time, no. But I am with you. Like, especially, I know I have a really ADHD way of viewing YouTube, which is like I can start a video and then come back to it like 2 weeks later. Most people probably aren't like that, but especially now that we're having longer videos that are starting to be shown on TV, we're getting this new TV interface that will have a watch later like Netflix, where you could theoretically come back in a week and a half and it would still be there for you to start to watch. Those theoretically are now going to be counted as multiple views because that CDN is not going to last that long. People rewind and watch things. People rewatch things. Like people maybe there is 3-hour documentaries out there. Like most people probably are not watching that one sitting. So yeah, they may take 6 sittings to get through it over a long enough gap of time that the CDN expires. Then yeah, that's going to be multiple views. And I do see that with, I have anecdotally seen that with channels that have higher watch times, their average like view per viewer does go up.
Good answer. April Lynn, nerdy data people unite is what
Woo!
Ingrid wants you to know. Hello from NC. And Mallory is excited to keep learning. And Ingrid does come back and say, yes, I love the save view feature. And Stranger Flavor says, quantum physics, a viewer being in two states at once.
Yes, that can get a little bit confusing. All right, I know we're heading on an hour, so we may have to do a part 2 on some of the other information. So let's not get into this part. If you want to just stop sharing the screen, and I'm going to verbally answer April Lynn's question about how to help turn your casual viewers into regular viewers, and then in a future session we can start getting into like the like how do you build an upload schedule that is going to move people down the funnel. But just a verbal like preview of that on how you move these people down the funnel is with these metrics. And we started doing this before when we had new and returning. You can start defining like what videos do what for you. It's tempting to just be like, we want to do these banger videos all the time that get the most new viewers possible, but that actually doesn't help build this like super fandom. Like, because here's the kind of general rule of thumb: the more generic and generalized the format is, the more people already understand the format and know the format, the easier it is for a new viewer to make the decision to click in. Right? Like if it's familiar to them, it takes one less decision out of the decision tree when they're deciding to click on a video. You as a new viewer, you are already at risk. They don't know you. They don't know if they're going to like your content. But if you're doing a home tour, or like I blew up 1,000 jelly beans, like these are comfortable types of formats that they at least know what they're getting into with that, and the only risk they're taking is on you and your personality, right? So that's why those things, that why making videos that everyone else makes, great way to get new viewers in. And I tell people, do not like stick up your nose at that. Like, giving people a language that they understand to introduce them to you, super important. Speaking the language of the platform you're on, super important. Be a part of the community, play the games the community plays, right? It's fun for all of us. But that can't be every video, because then you're not different than anyone else. So they're not like always going to click on your videos because there's nothing unique, right? So you still have to have this unique stuff in your repertoire, which are probably not going to be something that people click on as the first video they see from you. But once they've watched a couple of your more generic videos, like, I love this person's personality. I have no idea what this other video is about, but I'm going to click on it anyways because I love them and this is sort of interesting to me. And those are the type of videos that tend to keep people there. So before we had these metrics, we just had to kind of guess at that. But now that we have this metric, we can see, oh, this is a super fan video. It didn't get a ton of views, but our core viewership went crazy and came in at high viewership, and we're commenting a lot, and like really built this like a community and this through line through our content. Like, that stuff has a place in your upload mix. You can't just be like, oh, it didn't get above median views, so I'm never going to do this again. But it was above median for your core audience. And so that deserves a place in your upload mix. Now you can go the other direction, and every single one of your videos is an insider video for your core audience. You can't come back crying to me that you're not growing, right?
Yeah.
So being able to use these metrics to then figure out how to balance your upload schedule, that's the magic, right? Where every month you have videos that do all the different lever pulling that you need them to do, right? So that they're grabbing from the left here. We have at least one video that's going to be a banger that gets in a ton of new viewership, while not, and we can talk about this in a future session, while not alienating your core audience.
Right.
And then you might have at least one video that is super fanny and is not going to be that big views generator. But here's the secret: this is the video you're going to put the product push in, because that's the audience that's going to actually convert and buy. And then we can get into later, like, you also need to hold room for experimentation, all this sort of stuff. But these metrics are super powerful in enabling us to like make an upload schedule that will do what we need it to do. We have a tendency to get really heads down into the video we're making now and not think about how all the videos we're putting up this month work together to kind of make a successful channel.
Yeah, and I think as a creator, I don't think there's enough time spent on visualizing those buckets. Are we attracting? Are we nurturing? Are we, selling
Hmm.
in this one? And there is something about what is that healthy mix? Is it 7, 2, and 1? Is it, Sarah Dici used to be like one for you and, one for me, or some
For
people
me,
more
right?
like four for you and then like one for me. I mean, and there is a sweet spot ratio for lots of different audiences. But I feel like a lot of creators don't think about that in that roadmap, and they're just like, what can I make now? What can I put out? And it's not even sometimes something as simple as calendarily, is there some apex event that's happening that I need to try and, push this type of content for versus the regular or the
Yeah.
casual type of video. So it's a good part. Oh, go
I want
ahead.
to answer Paul's question here,
Okay.
where he says, I still reference these 4 videos a month goals, which is something that I taught him years ago, and was curious if they had changed at all. While I was preparing for this, I started thinking about that. Like, is there something about these new metrics that will then affect that mix? And I think there is. This is my guess, and we need more data to see. But I think there is potentially a third type of video in there, right? Where it's not a video that will necessarily make someone it's not going to get someone who's a new viewer to click. But it's still like universal enough. Like, here's the thing I'm finding about casual viewers, which we can get in more next time. But casual viewers actually function a lot more like new viewers than they do the regular viewers. Like, they are casual viewers because they know you, they like you, but they're only going to click on the big flashy stuff. So that's why they've only clicked 1 to 5 times in the past year, right? Because like they're not like the regular viewers are like, I like you, I will listen to anything you talk about. Casual viewers are like, I like you, but I will only, watch the topics I'm interested in, right? So I think there might be a type of video that might be slightly more unique than you would do to bring in a new viewer who doesn't know you, because they already know who you are, but it's got to still be super like catchy and interesting, and maybe a little bit more clickbaity than you would like to be with your regular core audiences, that would then switch into like I think Wonderhole from Mythical is a very good example of this. You're not clicking on Mythical on Wonderhole if you don't know who they are. You're just not. It's too crazy. But it's also one of those things where they've used really catchy titles that then bring you in, and then becomes this really quirky scripted series, but starts out like a regular YouTube video. I think there could be ways where you're kind of slowly moving people down that, like, okay, this starts out as something you might know what it is, but it's going to get really unique really quickly. That could then take that casual viewer, make them more into a regular viewer. This is all speculative. I literally thought about this 3 days ago. Hopefully over time, and as we talk about this as a group more, we'll all have been in our analytics like this, and can come back together and kind of compare what we're seeing across genres, across audiences, across kind of approaches. And I'm really excited, just the cool nerdy stuff we'll all be able to talk about because we have these a little bit more defined categories.
So Paul also said the Jenny Nicholson Disney Galactic Star Cruiser video would be a fascinating metric study.
Oh, interesting. I have not watched that one. I will have to go see that. I do know that she was doing some stuff with Disney, but and I think I watched another one of her videos, but I have not seen that one.
And Allie wants you to know she's in for part 2, and Stranger Flavor says already excited for part 2, and then she also said Wonderhole is wonderful.
It's great, but it's certainly not should not be your introduction to Rhett and Link.
I
It is
I don't
quirky
know what
as F.
Wonderhole is. I've never heard of that.
Look it up. You
Yeah,
literally go
I'm
down the
gonna
rabbit
have
hole
to.
with it. But yes, it's very if infinite varies quirky.
Oh no, he said say goodbye to 4 hours of your life. It's unreal. Oh no.
It's surreal. It's a surreal series. There's let's just say in this new season coming out, there's some interesting things. Prepare yourself. Mentally prepare
Prepare
yourself.
yourself. Good to know. Good to know. Alrighty. Okay, so you tell us, are we putting a pause on this and then doing a part 2?
This is Let's do a part 2.
This is us committing that we are doing a part 2. We will decide when that is, and then she will put it on the particle, whatever that. Yeah, I'm excited for that.
Hopefully we'll also put it on my channel next time.
Absolutely. Speaking of, again, Gwen's channel is linked in the title as well as the description. Go click on it and
Go
subscribe to her
subscribe
channel.
to me.
Even though
Yes, I need
subscribers don't mean
subscribers.
anything, do it.
That's
Do
a
it,
good, but yes,
people.
but still do. Oh, here's a better push. Subscribe to me, but then make sure your bell is set up that'll notify you for my lives.
Yes, absolutely. Gwen, any lasting words or wisdom that you want to send them off with on this holiday weekend?
Like, just post content and then
So she has more
spend some
data to look at.
time every Friday afternoon just looking at your data, or let me look at your data,
There it
so that we
is.
have more to talk
There it is.
about next time.
Yes. So, Stranger Flavors says, part two, let's go. Oh, sorry, that was Dan. Dan said, part two, let's go. Stranger Flavor says, you're both awesome. Love this. Shawnee said, part two, we'll be back. And oh, hey, look at that. Thank you so much, Paul. We got a super sticker for $3. I'll have to give you $1.50 for the next time we're having coffee together so you can get half. Perfect. Anything else that you want to leave people with? Yes, besides upload, get data so she can look at it.
I love you all. Thank you for coming and listening to me geek out. This is a highlight of my life whenever I get to do this.
I'm so excited that we got to do this. We've been talking about it for over a year, and it's amazing that it will be less than a year before our next live stream. So thank you so much for hanging out with us.
Famous last
Make
words,
sure
but we promise.
we promise we're gonna do it again. Make sure you're subscribed to her channel with the notification bell on, so you know the next time that we go live and talk analytics and all things and talk data nerdy to us. We like it. So thanks everyone. Have a great holiday weekend, and thanks for hanging out with us. Bye y'all.